Mario Lopez is under fire because he said it's dangerous to let your 3-year-old, I think he was talking about 3-year-olds, decide what gender they are and then give them drugs to change their body. He made these comments over a month ago, but now we have one of the top trending stories in the US. Yes, it was briefly number 2 on Twitter, I saw. But what I want to go over this and talk about the insanity that is politics today, but I also want to point out something very funny. It appears this story was broken, I guess, even though it was public podcast, but it was first written about by Yahoo, who then goes on to write this story about 18 hours later. I should have scrolled up, but Mario Lopez is drawing backlash for his comments about transgender children. Yahoo, you wrote the story from a month-old comment he made. Then when everyone gets angry, they write another story about how everyone's angry. Good job, media. Here's the thing, and we'll talk about this. He's talking about like 3-year-olds, but regardless, kids, where do we draw the line on what a kid should or should not be allowed to decide? Why should a child decide they, should take drugs and permanently change their bodies and they've barely experienced the world? And we can talk about any other argument pertaining to children making choices about their bodies or whatever. Like if a kid said they wanted to shave their head, should the parent say yes or no? That's a much simpler thing to do, but yeah, a lot of parents would be like, I'm not letting you do that. What if a kid wanted to get a tattoo? What if a 4-year-old said, I want a tattoo? And the parent's going to say no, and there are laws preventing kids from getting tattoos. But taking drugs to change your body, well, that's where things get kind of murky. So here's what we're going to do. Let's dive into the story, but before we do, I'm going to just briefly mention there is a crowd investment running for Subverse, a company for which I am the principal of. One of them, and it so far has raised $560,000. This is for the news venture Subverse. You can find out more at wefunder.com/Subverse. It's a news media company aiming to cut through the spin and present facts, and you can find out more there. I'm trying to be very light, but I believe the WeFunder is on track for at least a U.S. record. It might be more, we're not sure, but if this WeFunder finishes within the next 35 hours, it will set a record. So let's get back to the news. Mario Lopez says it's dangerous. So I will just point this out too, right? We have the story. I did mention it. I want to show the video. It's the PragerU podcast, the Candace Owens show from June 23rd. More than 1 month ago, Mario Lopez was on. So I guess somebody found it and wrote about it. Yahoo writes, Mario Lopez claims that parents who allow their children to live according to their self-identified genders are setting a dangerous example. Actually, I think that might be factually incorrect. I think he was talking specifically about drugs. Lopez, a father of 3, shared his opinions during a June interview on the Candace Owens Show, a PragerU video series hosted by the 30-year-old conservative figure, but the clips have only recently caught Twitter's attention, so perhaps that's why they wrote about it. They say during the 40-minute interview, Owens brought up the weird trend in Hollywood that have celebrities like Charlize Theron taking cues from their children as to how they identify. In April, the long-shot actress revealed that her 7-year-old child, Jackson, did not identify as a boy. Yes, I thought she was a boy too, Theron told the Daily Mail, until she looked at me when she was 3 years old and said, I am not a boy. There's the context. I'm sorry. 3-year-olds don't have a lot of understanding of what a boy even is, to be honest. Owens told the new Access Hollywood host, a lot of weird trends come out of Hollywood, and one of the weirder ones for me is this new trend where celebrities are coming out, and I know Charlize Theron did this a few weeks ago, is saying that their child is picking their gender. And this is strange to me, and they say, oh, I looked at my child, and my child was swimming in a bathtub and looked at me and said, Mommy, I'm a boy, and that's weird. Owens added that her experience as a nanny has convinced her that children don't always mean what they say, explaining, I am trying to understand this new Hollywood mentality where they just think their children now have the mental authority. Parents are supposed to tell their kids what to do. Kids don't know. They have poor judgment. And it's not until I think like 24 that we actually stop taking as many risks, but young kids are trying to understand the world. And they say a lot of crazy things. They claim to be inanimate objects. They play make-believe where they pretend to be dinosaurs and robots. What's worrying to me now is, what if there's a kid, but seriously think about this, and I'm not trying, look, I understand that some kids absolutely, are trans, but let's think about this. What if a kid one day goes, I'm a fireman? Actually, no. Where did they do this joke? They did this joke on some show where they were claiming a kid was South Park. They were the psychologists were saying that Butters had multiple personality disorder because he was pretending to be a fireman, and he was like, "Oh, I'm Fireman Butters now," and they're like, "Oh no, now he thinks he's a fireman." And so the video wasn't really about this, but think about this. What if a kid one day is just playing make believe? They're pretending to be like, I'm this, I'm that. What's the difference between saying I'm a policeman and then he says I'm going to be a nurse or a doctor or a mom, and then go, oh my God, what do we have here? Granted, that's very different from a kid expressly saying, they experience these things. But one of the challenges that arises with this conversation, when we saw the story in the UK where one researcher said that the certain institution was hiding information about how these drugs, these puberty blockers, were affecting kids, or how politicized trans lobbies are creating risks for children because of these things. So now if you have a kid who doesn't know what they're talking about, and a political group, whatever, wants to impose their ideology for whatever reason, you now have parents giving into the kids make-believe or incorrect assumptions or just lack of knowledge, ignorance, just giving in. But we can use the tattoo example. Now, tattoos are very different from being trans. I understand that, but they're both permanent decisions, okay? They affect you. Puberty blockers do have a massive effect on the kids. What if a 3-year-old said, I want a tattoo of a leopard on my chest? The parent's gonna be like, no, of course not. Because parents are supposed to tell kids what to do. Kids don't know better. And if you don't act like parents, they will grow up being just, chaotic, random, disorderly. Let's read on. I'm trying to understand it myself, and please don't lump me into that whole group, Lopez responded. I'm kind of blown away too. Look, I'm never one to tell anyone how to parent their kids, obviously. And I think if you come from a place of love, you really can't go wrong. But at the same time, my God, if you're 3 years old and you're saying you're feeling a certain way, or you think you're a boy or a girl or whatever the case may be, I just think it's dangerous as a parent to make this determination then. Well, okay. Then you're going to a boy or girl, whatever the case may be. It's sort of alarming, and my gosh, I just think about the repercussions later on. He added, when you're a kid, you don't know anything about sexuality yet. You're just a kid. After Owen said that parents who support their children this way are narcissists showing off their tolerance, Lopez responded, I think parents need to allow their kids to be kids, but at the same time, you got to be the adult in the situation. Pause with that, and I think the formative years is where you start having those discussions and really start making these declarations. The commentary didn't earn Lopez any new fans on Twitter. Well, who cares about what people think on Twitter? This is why it gets so funny. Mario Lopez is canceled just for appearing on her show, let alone what he actually said. And here it goes, all of the woke Twitter outrage, and then sure enough, well, they do bring on a psychologist who then criticizes Mario Lopez, and Mario Lopez was completely correct in his assessment, saying, I'm not going to tell you what to think. I just think 3-year-olds can't make these decisions. His opinion, that's fine. Yahoo then gets a PhD, but here's the kicker here. Here's what I love. Now they write the follow-up article. Twitter is outraged. Well, Twitter's outraged because you wrote the article, okay? I'm kind of blown away too. Oh, they go over the same basic thing. Here we have Alexandra Hellaby. It's unfortunate that someone who is so involved with GLAAD, like Mario Lopez Extra, would be so misinformed about trans kids. I wish that he would reach out to this individual for some guidance on the difference between sex and gender identity. And then we have, here, they're not doing themselves any favors. Holly Figueroa O'Reilly says, of our 5 kids, 2 are queer. They both came out in their early teens, but we knew who they were way before then. Parents can tell the different between, intentionally incorrect, between a 3-year-old who pretends to be another gender for fun and one who feels they are living in the wrong body. No, they can't. That's an assumption. The assumption this person is making is the same assumption that you could say Mario Lopez is making. Now, Mario Lopez is fine to have he's allowed to have his opinion where he thinks 3-year-olds can't. And if you think they can, I would disagree, but fine. But the opinion that you think a kid knows is an opinion. They don't. Kids have no idea. Like, you know what, man? Look at this. Look at college. How many people change their majors? Even at 18, 19 years old, they have no idea what they're doing or what they want to do with their lives. Parents are supposed to give them guidance, light the flames of passion. A friend of mine started skateboarding at a very young age. And they told me how they're a well-known skateboarder, so I'm going to try and keep details, vague. They told me how they didn't know, they didn't like skateboarding when they were young. They had said to their parents they wanted to skate. Their parents said, fine, but if I get you the skateboard, you have to skate. And they said, yeah. Within a month, I don't want to skateboard anymore, they would say. The parents said, no, absolutely not. You made this choice and you're going to live up to it. And then it was 20 years later, and they said to me, I'm really glad my parents made me keep skating because I have great friends, I'm happy, talented, successful. Yep. The parents needed to tell the kid, this is what you need to be doing. There's a difference between being a bad parent, forcing your kids to do things they really, really hate, and being a stern parent and fostering passions and talent. Find out what the kids, like and don't like, and just make them commit. Man, I'll tell you this. I was lucky enough to want to have played music, to want to skateboard and work on computers. And my parents helped foster those talents. There are a lot of people who maybe don't like doing something, but whether or not, like let's say that your parents made you play violin, and maybe you didn't want to. I'll tell you this, man. People who learn musical instruments have massive advantages in cognitive abilities. It's just true. Playing music really, really helps you out. A lot of people ask me how I'm able to just talk and just have this stream of consciousness. How do you do it? How do you just say it? When I was younger, I started writing music when I was a kid. And writing songs was just about getting to that groove of just letting that stream of consciousness come out and expressing yourself. And music helped me do that. I also played Magic the Gathering, a strategy card game, and chess, and I skateboarded. All of these things gave me peripheral talents and abilities. Physical ability from skateboarding, which made me, fit, tough, strong, build up my confidence, jumping off dangerous things, taking risks. Chess was strategy, Magic the Gathering strategy. Playing music was dexterity as well as mental acuity, and all of these things come together because I was encouraged and supported by my family. If you have kids who want to do something, or look, the point I'm trying to make is parents need to be that guiding force and tell their kids what they should or shouldn't be doing for the most part. You want to foster that talent, but also when kids say they want to do dumb things like get a tattoo, you say no. The challenge here is we do want to protect those who are truly trans, absolutely. But differentiating between kids who just don't know better and someone who actually is trans is difficult. And though they may say puberty blockers are a good solution to hold things off, those have permanent effects on you for the rest of your life. So anyway, I'm going to leave this here. You get it. They're dragging Mario Lopez. I want to point out the faux outrage. The comments were made a month ago. They only care now. Yahoo writes this story 18 hours ago, and then sure enough, now we're seeing this one 12 minutes ago, drawing backlash. Well, you wrote the story. Then they write about the outrage. Welcome to the media. Stick around. Next video will be coming up at youtube.com/timcast at 4 p.m. It is a different channel, and I will see you there.